Abidin Sayyid al-Sajidin, Imam Ali ibn al-Hussain al-Sajjad. We began this commemoration 2 nights ago. This is the third of 3 lectures on the topic of the spirituality of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. One of the outstanding characteristics of Imam Ali ibn al-Hussain was his connection with Allah. Everyone knows about his worship, everyone knows about his sujood, everyone knows about his du'as, his munajat. But what was behind that? Meaning that what was the nature of his connection with Allah? And how is the spirituality of Islam that we understand from Imam Sajjad, how is that different than modern day spirituality? That's some of the things that we've been trying to look at over the last couple of nights. On the first night, we talked about some examples that showed us how attached Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was to Allah. How the last thing that he would ever want would be to in any way, even slightly, become detached from Allah. And we saw that through his du'as. We saw that through his own worship and how much he wanted to just be with Allah at all times. And we talked about how this is a Quranic concept, that Allah created us, but He didn't create us to just leave us on our own. He created us and He told us that I am there for you wherever you turn, wherever you are, in the east, in the west. When you're asleep, I am there watching over you. I am looking over you even before you came into this earth. I am looking over you when you're going to leave this earth. And therefore, who else would you turn to? And so this was the first aspect of Imam alayhi salam's spirituality that we looked at, his attachment to Allah. Last night, the topic that we looked at was how is it that Imam alayhi salam tells us that we should preserve and maintain our connection with Allah? What are some of those things that can take that away from us? And we looked at 3 examples in the words of the du'as of the Imam. One of them was sinning, one of them was love of the dunya, and the third one was fakhr, when somebody becomes proud and arrogant over others. And we showed again how the Imam, through his life, he was always staying away from these things. Of course, he was ma'asum, but he was encouraging others to do the same. And we gave the example of how, for example, the Imam was very keen on serving other people, in giving what he had been given by Allah to others. And that was one of the ways of making sure and showing us how to do this, making sure that we don't become arrogant and boastful over what we have. Now tonight, I'd like to look at a third aspect, a third dimension of the Imam's spirituality. And this has to do with gratitude. Gratitude and thankfulness, as you all know, is part of all religions. It's, of course, very important in Islam, but all religions, whether they be the ancient religions, whether they be new religions, they have some concept of gratitude. And you know that ever since the so-called Enlightenment, there has been a move away from God, away from religion. And these days you find a growing number of people saying that, okay, we are not associated with any type of particular religious tradition. But those who don't have religion and they still want to keep themselves, somehow not drowned in the dunya, they still want to keep themselves mentally sound, they still have something going on for themselves. And that's what we have been calling as modern day spirituality. Now, one of the most important features of modern day spirituality is the concept of gratitude. So some of these same ancient teachings that have always been there from day one, when Allah started revealing to people, this is the way to know me, this is the way you can worship me. Some of those principles, they have now rediscovered them, and they've said that even if you don't want God, even if you don't want ibadah, even if you don't want ma'ad, if you don't want the holy books, there's some things that you still have to have, otherwise you're going to just be drowned. They did a study where it was a very interesting study. They said that they looked at different people and they said that what makes them happy. And happiness is one of those things that is very much sought after these days, because a lot of people in the modern era, they have a lot of things, like things are very convenient for them compared to the past, but one thing they don't have is happiness. So they said, what is it that makes somebody happy? And it's interesting, in this study, they said that 40% of happiness depends on doing something. It's called intentional acts, meaning that you actually have to do something to feel happy. You can't just like sort of assume that you're going to feel happy just like that. You actually have to work to being happy. 60% you can get just like that, right? You eat well, you sleep well, whatever. But 40% you actually have to work for it. And one of the main components that they said, and this is based on like modern psychology and whatnot. So they say that one of the main things you have to do intentionally is that you have to have gratitude in your life. Otherwise, there's no way you can find happiness. Now, what kind of gratitude do they talk about? Right? It's not something which is very like sophisticated. It's something which is very basic. They say that, for example, at the end of the day, just think about 3 things that you should be grateful for and be grateful. And that's it. Go to sleep having done that. Just by doing that, you'll find that you're feeling happier in your life. Right? And you might be thinking like, wow, that's pretty easy. Right? But it's very, so first of all, it shows us that it's very powerful. But secondly, it shows us how starved people are for true spirituality. Right? Imagine just 3 things to think about. Or they say just have a notebook, and at the end of the day, list down some of the things that you're grateful for that happened to you on that day. So go to sleep after having some positivity enter into your life. A lot of people, what do they do before they go to sleep? They check news, they check social media, and what happens? They see a lot of things that give them negativity, right? Like if you go and start, let's say you're somebody who's into like current events, there's a lot out there that you can become depressed about, right? Or if you're doing, let's say, social media for social purposes, and you're looking at other people's profiles, you're seeing what's going on, again, because of our natural tendency to compare with others, a lot of that can result in a whole bunch of negativity at the end of our day. So they say that, look, instead of doing that, sit down and just write down some of the things that you should be grateful for, and you'll see how suddenly, like some of the mental health problems that you're facing, some of the depression that you're facing, that will start to go away. Something as simple as that. Now, this is in the modern tradition of gratitude, right? And as I said, that some of these principles have been there from age old in religion. Now they've said that, okay, we have to go back to that, right? We'll keep the God out of it, but we'll bring back the principle of gratefulness. But what we'd like to do is to see what is the concept of gratefulness from the perspective of Imam Ali ibn Hussain, Imam Sajjad. How is gratefulness in his life? So I want to give you a few examples, inshallah, from his life, and then give a few quotes from some of the du'as of the Imam. But inshallah, you can help me with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma ij'al lana fi kulli sa'atin min sa'atihi haddan min ibadik. Here the Imam alayhi salam is talking about what he wants from every single day of his life. Okay, it's one of the du'as in Sahifat al-Sa'diyah. So what is he saying? He's saying that every single day, O Allah, in every single hour of that day, I want to have some portion of it, وَنَصِيبًا مِّن شُكْرِكَ وَشَاهِدَ صِدْقٍ مِّن مَلَائِكَتِكَ. I want 3 things. Okay, first of all, I want to be considered your servant in every single hour of that day. Secondly, I want to be given shukr in every single hour of that day. I want to be given gratitude in every single hour. And third thing is that I want the angels to witness that as well. So I want to be in this world, in this mundane earth, doing what everyone else does, but I want to be in the company of angels. Right? That's pretty strong. It's very powerful. That's how the Imam alayhi salam views every single hour of every single day. Now, one of the things that we can learn from this is that gratitude is not something which somebody can just, flip like a switch and they have it or they don't have it. It's something that you have to ask for. The Imam alayhi salam is saying that, oh Allah, I want this from you. I want to have gratitude. One thing I would invite all my respected brothers and sisters here to do, reflect on this, that how much of today, now, alhamdulillah, when a day has passed, we've had many hours in this day, how much of today has been filled for you with gratitude of Allah Ta'ala? Right? It's a point of reflection. Right? Is it every hour of the day that you had gratitude? Is it a portion of the day? Is it at the prayer mat? What is it? But here the Imam is describing a type of shukr, which is da'im, which is present at all hours of the day. Number one. Incident number two. Now, this is a very interesting story. One time, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, he went to the masjid and he saw that there was somebody who was making dua. And Imam alayhi salam is the Imam of the du'as, right? So he is going and his goal is to guide others, to teach them. And sometimes people who didn't have the Ahlul Bayt as their guides, they sort of would take tangents away from the true path of spirituality and of knowing God and worshiping Him. So this man, it seems that his situation was that he was afflicted with a lot of trials, a lot of challenges had come up in his life. So his primary dua that he was making, he's like, Khudaya, Allah, my God, right? He's saying that, Allah, all these challenges that you're putting me in, all these trials that I'm facing, give me sabr, right? Give me an ability to withstand them. Okay, it's a good dua, right? If you think about it, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that dua. It's a very powerful, it's good. Right? Allah, give me sabr when you try me, right? It's a beautiful dua, alhamdulillah. So Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, he wants to help him. He wants to guide him to the next step of his learning. He wants to, take him, to the next station of his progress towards Allah. So what does he teach him at this moment? He uses this as a teaching opportunity. So he tells him that, why don't you say the following? He says, Salillaha al-afiya wa shukra al-afiya. It's very beautiful. He says, it's fine what you're doing, but let me tell you what you can do that's even better. Ask Allah for afiyah, and then ask Him for the gratitude for that afiyah. Now, what's afiyah? Afiyah is a state of well-being. When you're things are good for you when it comes to your physical health, when it comes to your mental health, when it comes to your spiritual health, right? Afiyah. And if there's one thing that we're told to ask for example, we have a hadith about Laylatul Qadr, that when Laylatul Qadr comes, the one thing that you should ask Allah for is afiyah, because whatever else you want, it's contained in afiyah. Afiyah means things are good, right? Not just good from a secular perspective, they're good all around. So here the Imam says that, change your dua. Instead, ask Allah for afiyah, but not just afiyah. Ask Him for the state of gratitude for being in that afiyah. That's something which is even more powerful than having that sabr, that self-restraint in the face of those challenges. Again, brothers and sisters, this is a very powerful lesson, that when somebody has afiyah, when somebody has not just that, when somebody has gratitude in their lives, then Allah looks at that person and says that that I don't need to try this person, right? Because the whole point of giving that person that challenge is so that they can get to that point where they're constantly in connection with Allah, which is where Allah wants us to be. But somebody who has gratitude, Islamic concept of gratitude, they already are constantly in touch with Allah. So what's the point then of giving them those difficult trials? Because they're already where they want to be. So again, that's one point. The other point, again, is that the ability to be thankful to Allah, the ability to have gratitude, constant gratitude, to be in the state of gratitude, not just for our lips to whisper shukr or hamd, right? But actually to have that be something which is it's a sifa, it's a characteristic of our relationship with Allah. That's something that we need to ask Allah for. It doesn't just come like that. It's a gift from Allah. So that's the second thing I wanted to bring from the life of the Imam. I remember the first one was the dua for every hour of the day, asking gratitude. Now the third thing I'll mention from the life of the Imam is this dua, which you'll remember from the night of Qadr that we always recite. You know how we do it in the sujood in the night of Qadr at some point. So in that dua we say this is from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Allahumma la taj'alni nasiyan li dhikrika fima awlaytani wa la ghafilan li ihsanika fima a'taytani. O Allah, don't make me be somebody who, because of what you've given me, that I now become forgetful over you, and I forget to remember you, and I forget to be aware of your ihsan and your goodness to me. What is one of the things that we can take from the statement of the Imam? One of the things that happens, that Allah in His generosity, He gives us so much, right? He gives us just everything that we have. And so the nature of human beings is that we get busy with these things, right? We get busy with, for example, moving our tongue and using it to talk to others. We get busy with our eyes and using it to look at people and look at other things, right? We have all these things from Allah and they occupy us. Now, somebody who has gratitude is somebody who is occupied with everything that God has given them, but they're still able to maintain that gratitude to Allah. And in a way, if you think about it, it's very challenging. It's not an easy thing, because it's very easy to just become preoccupied with whatever is at hand. So the Imam ﷺ would actually pray for this, and he would say, "Oh Allah, you've given me all these things, but don't let these things be something that takes away the gratitude that I really want to have for you." So all these three examples, these du'as, that story of the Imam meeting that man in the masjid, it shows us how important shukr and hamd and being in a state of gratitude was for Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. Now, I want to just look at a couple of examples from the du'as of the Imam, which teaches us something about the nature of this shukr. Because when we have this word gratitude, and now it's being used by people who say be grateful and don't even mention God, then clearly the Islamic understanding of shukr and gratitude is different than what they're talking about. How is it different? So this is what, again, we can learn from the du'as of the Imam. Inshallah, I'll just mention 2 or 3 points. First of all, one of the things that the Imam teaches us in the du'as is that helps us to understand what gratitude is this concept that everything that we've been given from Allah, it's something that we did nothing to deserve from Him. He's the one who gave us without us deserving. It's not like that we did something and then we said, okay, we've done this, please present us for our reward, and then we get that reward. That's not the way it works, right? Everything that God has given us has been ibtida'an, as it's mentioned in the ahadith and in the dua. So for example, we have the following dua where the Imam says, As'aluka fi an tashala ila rizqi sabila. So he says it's a dua for rizq from Allah. So Allah, make my rizq come easy for me. Okay, then why, right? And then what is he, when he's making this dua, how is Imam Sajjad Islam presenting it? He says, فَلَكَ الْحَمْدُ عَلَى إِبْتِدَائِكَ بِالنِّعَمِ الْجِسَامِ وَإِلْهَامِكَ الشُّكْرَ عَلَى الْإِحْسَانِ وَالْإِنْعَامِ. It's very powerful, very beautiful. He says, "Oh Allah, I want to thank you for something." What is that I want to thank you for now? I'm not going to mention the risk that you gave me. Even though I'm asking for risk, I'm not going to mention the risk in particular. But instead, I'm going to mention what? Ibtida'ika bin ni'amil jisam. I'm going to mention that the fact that, oh Allah, you began first. Anything that I've done for your sake, you're the one who first started it. Why? Because you gave me everything that I could use for your service. So that's the first thing I'm going to acknowledge, number one. And number two, what does he say? He says that, then second thing you gave me was that you inspired me to be thankful for you, thankful to you. Both of these things I got for free. One of my teachers once was, he gave an example. He said that, if you want to understand this concept, it was a very nice example. I want to share it with you tonight. He said that, most of us have had that experience of renting a place to live before, right? Like maybe an apartment, a home. If you haven't ever rented a home, then you probably, at the very least, you probably lived in a hotel for some period of time, right? Okay, so this is what he said. That imagine that one day, right, the person that you're renting from, right, you get a letter from them, and they say to you that this place that you've been renting, it's yours, right? It's yours. And you're like, what? I'm renting this from, and now it's not that, he's not saying that, he or she's not saying that you don't have to pay rent anymore. They're saying that this place is yours, right? You'd be like, you wouldn't be able to fathom that, right? Especially here in Silicon Valley, right? We're talking about millions of dollar homes, right? It's like, what? Why would somebody ever do that, right? Now, that's just a thought experiment. It never happens in real life, by the way. Okay, at least I haven't heard of that type of thing happening. But what about actually, it has happened in real life, right? It has happened, and it's happened in a much more profound way, where we ourselves, our existence, our bodies, everything else that comes with it, all of the risk that we've been given, all of that was given to us, and it was just like that, right? We never had to even go through that initial period where we're doing the rent or the dump. It was just, here you go, it's all yours, right? So that's a type of understanding that Islamic gratitude entails, that the ibtida'an is from Allah Ta'ala. So that's point number one. Now, the second thing that the Imam alayhi salam mentions in his du'as again and again is that when one of the things that Imam alayhi salam was thankful for is how much Allah was part of his life. And this is something that, the goal of Islam is tawheed, right? Tawheed is to arrive at this understanding of Allah. And part of that understanding comes about by realizing how much of a role Allah plays in our lives. So Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, we know that he would, if you go to Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah, he would, every occasion, anything major happening in his life, he would have a dua for that. Like, for example, some bala is about to come, okay, here's this dua. When he wants, for example, he's worried about how something is going to turn out, he has a dua for that. In his life, we know that in one hadith, we're told that whenever he was going to do something of the dunya, like buy something or sell something that was significant, how would he go about doing it? Most of us would be like, okay, that's part of my business background. I'll go and do my research. I'll Google it. I'll figure out, how to make this purchase, whatever it is. I'll look at the reviews, right? And then I'll make my purchase. How does he do it? The hadith says, Kana Ali ibn al-Hussain, like Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, إِذَا hamma bi amri, and then whenever he would be thinking about something that's important, like a major trip or selling something or buying something, then what would he do? He would do the following. He would tatahara, he would renew his wudu, and then he would make a dua. He said, Allahumma in kana kada wa kada khayran. He said, Allah, if this is good for me, and it's good for me when it comes to my deen, and it's good for me in my dunya, in the akhirah, then Allah, make it easy for me. And even if it becomes hard for me, then give me the strength to be able to continue till the end of that thing. Right? Now, it's something which is very very particular. And again, normally when you think about spirituality, we say that, okay, it's what happens when you're on the prayer mat, it's what happens in your spirituality sessions. Here the Imam of Islam is bringing Allah into his day-to-day life, right? Purchases, buying and selling, things which are very much part of the dunya, Allah is part of that. We have another example where Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, it's again, kana, like he used to do this frequently. Whenever إِذَا وُضِعَ الطَّعَامُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, when food will be placed in front of him. Right? Very mundane act. Right? But here, when food will be placed in him, what would he say? He would say, Allahumma hadha mink, oh Allah, this is from you. وَمِن فَضْلِكَ, and this is from your grace and bounty. وَعَطَايَاكَ, it's you have gifted it to me. فَبَارِكْ لَنَا فِيهِ, and make it be blessed. And then he makes a dua, and then he says something very interesting. Allahumma ja'alna laka min ash-shakin. Allah, make us among those who are grateful to you. And at the end, he would say, Alhamdulillah alladhi hamalana fil barri wal bahr wa razaqana min at-tayyibat wa faddalna ala kathiran min khalqihi aw min khalqihi tafdila. Now, those of you, from the Quran, Allah Ta'ala talks about the karama of human beings. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ, and to the end of the ayah. Here, the Imam Islam is reminding us of that. Every time that food is placed in front of him, he's remembering Allah. But in what way? We're at a time right now where, despite so many ways of being connected with other people, human beings are still craving attention, right? And one of the causes for depression, for extreme loneliness, is this need for attention seeking. But people who have true Islamic spirituality, even something as simple as eating a meal, it's an opportunity for them to remember that they do have somebody who is paying attention to them. And that one who is paying attention to them is way greater and way more important and way more capable of taking care of their needs than any one of God's creation is. It's God himself. So every single time that meal is placed in front of him, the Imam is feeling what he's feeling honored. He's feeling dignified. He's feeling respected from Allah. Right? Because he's being reminded of وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, the idea that you are a human being. Right? You are super special. And here's a sign of it. What's the sign of it? That this food right here, it didn't come to me randomly. It came from God. Right? And that's what's inspiring the gratitude in him. It's a very powerful concept, brothers and sisters, to bring Allah into our lives and then on that basis to be able to feel that gratitude. In one of the du'as, the Imam says the following. He says, وَاجْعَلْ شُكْرِي لَكَ عَلَى مَا زَوَّيْتَ عَلَيْهِ أَوْفَرَ مِنْ شُكْرِ إِيَّاكَ عَلَى مَا خَوَّلْتَنِي. Right, what does that mean? He says that, oh Allah, I don't just want to be grateful for those things that you have given me. You know that secular gratitude that we were talking about, the idea of like thinking about 3 things that happened to you? That's talking about stuff that happened to you, right? He's saying, I don't want to just deal, that's a low level, right? That's like, you know, the easy level. Now I want to go on to the intermediate advanced levels. What's the higher levels? The higher levels is that, oh Allah, make me be even more thankful of what you kept away from me than the thing that you gave me. Now that is powerful. That is true gratitude. Because we know that in life, like let's say at the end of the day, you're thinking, okay, I got these things, but everyone else got those things. Right? What about that? How do you deal with that? Right? When you know how they said they wanted to take the gratitude, but they got rid of the God? You know how we talked about that at the beginning? So then now what do they do about this now? There's somebody else who has that, right? I wanted that, but I didn't get it. Now how am I going to feel that gratitude? Here the Imam is telling us the secret that everything that happens, it happens for a reason. Even if something was taken away from me that I really wanted, that happened for a reason. Not only am I not going to be miserable about it, I'm going to be thankful about it as well. So imagine that type of gratitude tradition where at the end of the day, I sit back and I think about all the things that happened to me that were good and all the things that happened to me that I was disappointed in, I'm going to be thankful for those things as well. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be amazing? But guess what? That's already part of the Islamic tradition. Right? Like if you look at these spirituality, self-help books and stuff, they talk about these things, but it's as if they forgot that, these are ancient, this is part of Islamic teachings. The Imams used to do this. They used to take out time. They used to tell their followers to take out time at the end of the day and count everything that happens, not just all the things that you think are good, but even those things which you felt that weren't so good, and both be thankful and also do istighfar. Right? And you'll see that your blessings will multiply, right? Your connection with God will multiply. The last thing that I'll mention, brothers and sisters, there's a lot that we could talk about for gratitude, but I don't want to keep you on this evening. Last thing I'll just mention is that, we talked about one of the benefits of having gratitude in life, which is that you can be more positive because you're not just dealing with negativity. At the end of the day, if we're dealing with just, let's say, the news or some things like that, of course we have to be kept aware. We have to keep aware of what's going on in the world. But sometimes it can be just pure negativity. When we have gratitude, then we have positivity in our lives. But another thing that happens when we have gratitude is that it gives us a lot of hope. Why? Because we know that in the Islamic concept of gratitude, just by being grateful, that becomes a source for more blessings from Allah. They call it a virtuous circle. Virtuous circle is where one thing happens and it triggers another thing, which comes back and triggers that first thing. So what is it? That when somebody is thankful to Allah, then it triggers more blessings from Allah. And those more blessings, it triggers more shukr, and then more blessings and more shukr. And that's what we see in the lives of the Imam. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are thankful to me, the ayah says in Surah Ibrahim, then I will give you. I will increase you. You'll get more and more from me. And this is what we see in with the Imam alayhi salam. So it gives us a lot of hope, right? Islamic gratitude is one where it comes along, it's a hope-giving activity to sit back and to actually say, thank you, Allah. So having said all these things, practically, what can we take from this? One of the points, inshallah, from all these different stories and different quotes from the du'as from the Imam alayhi salam is that he's our Imam, he's our leader. Just like the other Imams, their main goal in life was this connection with God. Their main goal in life was to gain that awareness of Allah, to serve Him. And that was the thing that drove them. And that was the most precious thing that they had. These days, we talk about different things that are presented to us that this is worth spending your life on. That's what's worth spending your life on. Okay, fine, right? Everyone needs to have a profession. Everyone needs to do things. They need to have responsibilities. But there's something that drives everything else that we ought to do. That's what we see in the lives of these individuals. One of them is the concept of gratitude. Gratitude as a very powerful force. It's something which is helpful not only for worldly happiness, but also for true spirituality and the true connection with Allah. May Allah Ta'ala help us to understand the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, apply them to our lives, and convey them to others as well. Please recite a salawat. Okay, brothers and sisters, this is the last night of the musibah that we're going to be remembering some of the events that took place surrounding Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam and the events in Karbala. So inshallah, you can join me in taking our hearts to Karbala on this evening and remembering some of the events that took place there. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى وابن فاطمة الزهراء. Peace and blessings be upon you, O our Imam Hussain. Peace be upon you, O leader of martyrs. Peace be upon you and upon those noble companions who were with you on the day of Ashura. Peace be upon you and upon those companions who are buried with you in Karbala. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز معكم فوزا عظيما. If only we could be with you and attain that great victory with you in your company. Peace and blessings be upon Ali ibn al-Hussein, Sayyid al-Sajideen. How many calamities and difficulties he must have had to bear in that journey from Karbala to Kufa to Sham. They say that when Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein went to Kufa, he was brought on a camel, chains were placed on his neck, both sides of his neck were bleeding. Here the Imam alayhi salam is looking upon some of those same people who betrayed his father, who had written to him, saying to him, come to Kufa. But then they had sided with Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. He signals to the people to be silent. And then he tells them, whoever recognizes me knows me. Whoever does not, let me tell them, Ana Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. I am the son of the one whose sanctity has been violated. I am the one whose the son of the one whose family has been taken captives. I am the one who is the son of the one who was butchered and slaughtered on the banks of the Euphrates River. O people, you killed my family. What have you done to us? The people start to cry. They start to express regret over what they had done, over their betrayal. But it did not take long for them to now see when Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad mounts his mimbar and he begins to speak, they start to change their minds and their hearts start to waver. Ubaydullah, he praises God. He says that God has given us victory over those who have denied his religion. People are listening to him. They are silent, but suddenly one man stands up. He begins to shout. He says, "You are the one who is the liar, Ubaydullah. You are the one who has killed the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet. How dare you speak these words?" Who is it that's speaking? It's Abdullah ibn Afif. Abdullah was a man who was a Shia. He was a true supporter of the Ahlul Bayt. He had lost his eyesight, but he was very brave. He spoke against Ubaydullah. His family members saw that if he were to continue speaking, Ubaydullah would have him killed. They quickly took him to his home. Ubaydullah sent his soldiers to go and capture him. Abdullah is in his home. The only person who is with him is his daughter. He tells his daughter that I will fight these people. Tell me when they come. When the soldiers of Ubaydullah come to the house, he tells her father, "Oh my father, they are coming at you from the left, from the right." Abdullah fights valiantly, but he cannot see how much can he resist them. Eventually they capture him. They bring him to Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. Ubaydullah orders that he be killed. Abdullah says, "Praise be to Allah. For years I have been asking Allah to become shaheed. I thought when my eyesight would be taken away, I would not have the opportunity to do so. But now, alhamdulillah, Allah has tested me in this way, and I will be killed by the worst of people at the hands of the worst of people." Abdullah gives his life in the way of the Ahlul Bayt, in the way of Allah. The story of Abdullah and his daughter remind me of another daughter. Who is this daughter? Is the daughter of Imam Hussain. What is she doing? She is on the battlefield of Karbala. She is looking for something. What is she looking for? She is looking for the body of her father. Why is it difficult for her to find the body of her father? Because the bodies no longer have the heads on them. When she finally finds the father of her body, according to some hadith, she's there with her father. She sees a vision where Imam Hussain alayhi salam speaks to her with a message. He says, "Ay Shi'ati in sharibtum ma'adbin fadhkuruni." Oh my Shia, if you ever drink any water which is nourishing, don't just drink it, but remember me, remember my thirst. أو سمعتم من شهيد أو غريب فاندبوني. If you ever hear of someone who is a stranger in a land, or someone who becomes a martyr, then mourn me, mourn my martyrdom. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. We ask Allah Ta'ala to accept this majlis from us, to count us among those who truly honored the commemoration of the martyrdom of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and his family. And inshallah, on the Day of Judgment, this will be a source of blessings for us and for our families. May Allah Ta'ala hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and help us to dedicate our lives towards preparing for his reappearance. Please recite salawat.
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain,
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain,
Ya Hussain.
Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Oh my Hussain, 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 oh my Hussain. After the bloodshed and after the worst, after her sons would lay cut up in thirst, after they dragged her without all her clothes, for months in a prison her husband now knows. Oh my dear wife, you were so young, your hair is now white. Husband of mine, your Zainab has seen the worst day inside. We are the Prophet's own family and blood. The ship of salvation went lost in the flood. Our doorsteps were known by you beggars the most. Is this how you treat us, the heavenly host? If you will leave and want to do wrong, then we are the ones. Leave us till death, but Hassan and he are the Prophet's own sons. Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Oh my Hussain, 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 oh my Hussain. Out of the tents came the son of Hussain, who looked like the Prophet and bore Ali's name. He fought off the throngs with a Hashimi sword, defending his mother, his father, his Lord. The youth was brought down, the truth was brought down, and falsehood fulfilled. And from afar it looked like to us the Prophet was killed. Here is Hussain with an infant in arm. The hands of a father protect him from harm, from thirst and from hunger, from cold and from heat. He lays down his baby by enemy feet. This is my son, please for a child, first have respect. How can I say the arrow that pierced your white baby's neck? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Oh my Hussain, 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 oh my Hussain. Riding on horseback to make his last stand, Abbas came bravely with water in hand. Soldiers surrounded him, soon he would fall. Stabbing and butchering, we saw it all. With tears in his eyes for his Abbas, the Sayyid came there. Oh my Mawla, if I had more would I spare. Ali had told him, Hussain is our jewel. You are to him as I was to Rasul. So as a boy he would cling to his side, prepare for the day when his life he'd provide. Ammu Abbas, we are in thirst, dying of need. Please, O Abbas, the water's so close. O our Shaheed, Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Zainab's in Karbala crying in pain. Oh my dear brother, where are you, Hussain? Oh my Hussain, 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 oh my Hussain. Hussain. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there, leave me there. Hussain, oh, Hussain, oh, Hussain, oh, Hussain, oh. صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء